I can barely contain my excitement that we are so unbelievably close to the Rachel Zegler drama reaching its epic conclusion. That's right, one of the most controversial movies of the year is about to be released. And naturally, Disney has all of its minions out on social media, desperately trying to run damage control. Now the only question is, will it actually make a difference, or is it all too little too late? Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. The Snow White live-action remake has debuted on Rotten Tomatoes at 48%. And now we're going to take you to the internet live for more reactions. What, is Rotten Tomatoes only count incel reviews towards their scores now? Honestly, I'm just looking for a fun time. And Disney live-action remakes haven't let me down yet. A 48% is exactly what Snow Not So White deserves. This is what happens when you take a classic and woke it up. Snow White is doing us all a favor by exposing all the middle-aged straight white men who are pretending to care about this movie. Controversy or not, Snow White will be peak and we will be seated. Down with Rachel Zegler, down with Dolph Ziggler, down with Dirk Diggler, and any other Igler you can think of. Cause everything sucks.
Yeah. Weird.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was only a matter of time before those first reactions to the Snow White remake started to roll in. But before I talk about anything, I'm going to do something that I've never done in my entire existence on this platform, and that's praise critics.
I don't believe it!
Not all of them, but I have noticed a shift recently, and you know something is happening because all of the social media shill accounts are now taking the stance and saying that you shouldn't pay attention to what critics say. Convenient, considering for the past several years when they validated you didn't seem to have a problem with what they were saying. But now that the unnatural praise train has left the station, all of a sudden critics are the enemy. I don't know what happened, but it seems like more and more recently, critics are less afraid of being honest, which means less obvious disingenuous praise and more valid criticism, hopefully. And that's only going to benefit all of us in the long run because it could potentially lead to better movies. The bigger problem in film discussion and film criticism right now is not professional critics, it is these phantom online accounts. The ones that desperately try to establish a buzz for certain movies because they don't have one. Accounts that call themselves Snow White Updates and then expect us to take anything they say seriously. Now, critics haven't really been praising this movie so far, but these social media personalities who conveniently get early access to these movies somehow seem to have some pretty nice things to say about it. And so far I haven't seen much in the way of substance when it comes to some of these reactions, which is not surprising. And a good portion of them pretty much add up to each of them saying a slightly different variation of Rachel Zegler is perfect in this role. Now, we saw a similar tactic used in early reactions for Captain America Brave New World, and we all know how that turned out. And I want to make this very clear, I have never once criticized Rachel Zegler's acting ability. The issue from the very beginning is whether or not she was right for this role. You can be a great actor and still be miscast.
It's true.
And those concerns were amplified when she made certain comments about the source material that rubbed some people the wrong way. The truth is that you can use any form of deflection you want. It doesn't change anything because she said what she said, and that's why people feel the way they do about her. I've seen so many people on social media say, well, the hate for Rachel Zegler is so unnatural. Yet they refuse to hold her accountable or even acknowledge that she's the one who created this situation. Also, I see a lot of people saying that we are pretending to be upset and don't really care about Snow White like that. First of all, who are any of you to tell anyone what they can or cannot care about? Also, in the case of people like myself, who are not traditional Snow White fans, you do not have to be a mega fan to see when something is getting mishandled. Do you know how many properties that I do care about or do have a connection to that I've seen Hollywood completely ruin in recent years. Basically, I do not need to be on the front lines or an expert about this property to call out some bullshit when I see it. So bottom line, can we please stop trying to play the victim card when it comes to Rachel Zegler? If her comments made certain people not want to go watch this movie, then that is a perfectly justifiable reason to not go watch it.
Anybody care about what I want? I do. Shut up. Get out.
The other praise that I've seen for this movie already over and over again is that it is one of, if not the best, live-action Disney remake. Well, there's something to be proud of. What a prestigious group of films for Snow White to now be sitting on top of. You could at the very least get a legitimate reaction out there that tries to sell us on the idea that this movie is going to be better than what we think it is. Because using the old "it's the best since the last" routine is getting tired and nobody buys it anymore. If film criticism isn't dead already, the people who say this kind of shit are going to be the ones who kill it. You can feel the desperation in some of these early reactions. They all feel very disingenuous, very phony, and people are starting to see right through that.
It fooled me, we can't get fooled again.
Speaking of seeing right through shit, Rachel Zegler herself tried to get in on some of this damage control when she shared a photo of herself sporting a hairstyle that was, I guess, meant to pay homage to the original Snow White voice actress. She even said that I owe her everything in the caption. And you know what, Rachel? You do owe her everything, which is exactly why you shouldn't have called the original movie outdated. The level of respect that you're showing in this post would have gone a long way towards shaping people's perception of you. Unfortunately, now it all feels too little too late. Also, I have to ask the question, why couldn't we get Rachel rocking this hairdo in the film as well? Looks a hell of a lot better than the Lord Farquaad she's rocking in the movie itself.
What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the movie?
The other thing that I noticed leading into this movie is how people are already trying to shift the blame if this movie goes on to fail from Rachel Zegler to Gal Gadot. And of course, this is some politically inspired bullshit as far as I can tell. And it has everything to do with where Gal Gadot was born and nothing to do with anything that has to do with this movie. And let this be a lesson to all of you. The people who claim to be most virtuous are attacking Gal Gadot because of her place of origin and saying vile things about her that, to my knowledge, there is no proof of them actually being true. But we're the toxic ones for calling out Rachel Zegler for saying something about the original movie. Make it make sense. This, my friends, is the difference between taking personal shots against someone and criticizing someone for something entertainment related.
Man, I'm tired of being right.
At the end of the day, this movie might be awful, it might be decent, and there's even a way outside the box chance that it could be great. All I can really do is encourage you to understand the difference between a legitimate critic and an influencer. Influencers have that title for a reason. Their job is to make people feel a certain type of way. And that is exactly why companies like Disney lean so much on them now to sell their product. All I'm really suggesting is that we bring back real film criticism from critics who are not afraid to tell it like it is, regardless of any label that people want to throw at them. Grifter, racist, misogynist, we've heard it all before. It's all noise designed to distract you from the fact that there are still people out there like myself who dare to be critical.
Y'all be cool. Shut up.